Are we live now? Is that
Yeah,
what you're
we're
staring at me
live.
for? All right,
Three,
awesome.
two.
Well,
Wait, no, now go. Now we're live. Sorry,
all
sorry,
right.
sorry.
Welcome back to Match Week 11
Let me get hyped up.
review.
Sorry.
Even though there was no preview,
There was no
because me and
preview.
Nick, we had a busy weekend. I moved, as you can maybe tell. This is a different surrounding. Nick has
We both.
been working on stuff.
Yeah, we're both in the middle of moving right now, so it's a very hectic period, you could say.
Definitely a hectic period.
Oh,
That being
good.
said, it was a hectic weekend in the Premier League that we're about to talk about. Glossing over the Fantasy Premier League, no changes in the standings overall. Pretty poor week fantasy overall. Our highest score was only 43 points. Um, but everyone just kept their position. Maybe moved, got a little closer to whoever they were chasing,
Mm-hmm.
but no big changes. And then, yeah, and straight into the fixtures, I guess. So the first one we had this weekend was Fulham Man U. You want to talk about that, Nick?
Yeah. Let me just grab the schedule standings up. Here we go. Yeah. So not a good game, but did you see? Speaking of, this is gonna be a lot of VAR stuff today. Did you look at United's
Unfortunately,
disallowed goal?
yes, and yeah, it probably should have stood.
Okay, I would like completely non-biasedly. I would probably agree. I get if they're looking at every single thing. I don't know. I'm trying to give them some benefit of the doubt, but it
I,
should have
I,
stood. It should have stood.
I, I'm having a hard time finding a soft spot for referees at the moment.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think it should have stood. But we kind of talked about this before. I mean, and I made a comment that you said you definitely disagree with, which is basically like it's a win. It's not a great performance. I know
Yeah.
you're Ten Hag in, so I think that's part of this whole thing. Is like you
Yeah.
you you think guys you want them to stay.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not as sold as you are. So my thing was, yes, it's a win, but does it just cover over the cracks for for another week?
Okay.
Because it
Yeah.
was a performance, but does it just does it make things look okay until the next bad thing, and then everyone freaks out again? You know what I mean?
So what I wanted to say to you, and I think you kind of picked up on it, was I don't know how you could say, it's you're just prolonging the inevitable when you went through Arteta, and you already
Mm.
kind of responded to that, I guess. Did you just respond to that? Was that included?
No, it was before we recorded.
All
But
right.
basically, I was saying, um, when when you play bad and you lose, people talk about it more, which can create change or a sense of urgency from the club. But when you play bad and you win, it kind of just stalls progress.
Yeah.
So not necessarily that like Ten Hag needs to be fired, and if that's the change they make, that's the change they make. But I'm saying even with like the players, like like the players walk away from that, they clap up the home fans or whatever. They think they did their job. I'm not sure if Ten Hag's message is okay, we got to win on the road. That's a good win, or if it's hey, our performances need to be better. But I'm saying like all around, it can make something that wasn't good appear better than it
Yeah.
should.
Yeah. I understand that, but it is a good thing getting a win on the road. I just think there is a goldfish level of memory in modern soccer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like Arteta, the Arteta thing. I just it just doesn't make sense to me. Like we've gone through so many managers so frequently. Got rid of them when stuff went bad. Ragnick we got rid of when football was bad, and it was
Mm-hmm.
fucking horrid. It was awful to watch. That being said,
Yeah.
how many times do we have to do this? Where I mean, he started with Mourinho. We could have listened to Mourinho when he said like the players
The
were
club
not
was rotten.
the club was wrong. Yeah. How many times do we have to do this and change the manager, get that new manager bounce,
Mm-hmm.
fall off before we're like, fuck it, this is our guy. We're not getting rid of him, so you guys better suck it up and do something. I just changing managers doesn't it may guess what? We might get a nice bounce and finish maybe fourth. Do you know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't do enough. It doesn't do enough. We're not fiending for money. I know we're in debt, but it's United. We're not going to ever struggle for money unless huge mistakes happen. We don't need we need top four. We don't actually need it in the financial sense. It just doesn't make sense. I mean, Fergie, when he came in, we were in 14th place or something like that. Beginning of the season, he took us to 11th place his first season, okay? Not that great. Next season, we came in second. Good. 2 seasons after that, we're 11th and 10th finishers. Before we started winning, he won his first trophy. I mean, that in today's standard for United, he would have been gone after the first season.
Yeah, the second, yeah. And once he went from second back to 11th, it would have been over.
Oh, yeah, it would have been over. Yeah. And people were calling for that. There a bunch of newspapers and stuff, which are really funny to read now, obviously.
Yeah.
But, and you don't know. I mean, maybe it is the right call. But it just keeps happening. And I don't, like, I'm not calling you brain dead. But there's a lot of, like, absolutely brain dead takes on we should get rid of him after, bad start. It just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, I think to most people, it's so clearly the players. I mean, we put Garnacho and Palestri, their combined age of under 40 or whatever. And Palestri won us the game just from his pure hustle. I mean, it is a player problem. Rashford doesn't give you that hustle. Anthony tries to give you that hustle.
His legs move fast.
His legs move fast, but like it doesn't work. Palestri's just Garnacho's all over the place. It's just it's the players, man. It's a club structure. I think Ineos is investing $300 million on just behind the scenes stuff, training around, which is good, but it does. At this point, for me, it's Ten Hag or nothing. I mean, we get rid of him, we're gonna be stuck in the same cycle.
And I guess my question is, like, how long of a leash do you give? Like, at what point, like, is it end of this season? Is it, another season? Like, I guess maybe the better question is, like, what's improvement? Because I know improvement, as, like, I've seen with Arteta, isn't always where you finish in the table. Because it's hard to judge off that. Yeah. And I think it's hard to even judge based on, like, trophies sometimes. Like, I think when Arteta won the FA Cup, I don't know, it was good for him because it silenced a lot of people that were talking bad about him. But I don't necessarily think it was, like, down to Arteta.
It wasn't, because that next year when you guys were struggling, people, even though he won the FA Cup, he wasn't getting the credit. Right. Or he wasn't getting the respect he deserved probably for winning the FA Cup. So in the long run, what did that do for you besides, obviously everyone loves a trophy, but for him personally, job security wise, it didn't really do anything for him. Maybe it did. Maybe that's why he's still here though. But to me, it didn't feel like the interaction, the talk around him, that was doing anything for him.
And I think the league right now, the Premier League, and the other leagues, because, I mean, the Champions League and Europa League, stuff like that, the leagues are so competitive right now, where it's like, how do you go, okay, if he doesn't win a trophy this year, it's over? Because, I mean, like, Arsenal fans talked about the game this season. They're like, okay, what do you think we're going to win this year? And the guy I listened to, who I think is a pretty, like, down-to-earth guy, like, pretty, tries to be unbiased. Like, he was like, honestly, we're not the favorite in any competition that we're in this year, because Man City are in them. Like, Man City are in all these same competitions, so how can you expect to win? You can't expect to win. You can say, oh, I think we're in a challenge for, or, oh, we could win this, but you can't expect to win. And I think, like, for success-wise, I mean, you look at the teams 1 through even I would say 9 or 10 in the Premier League right now. Like there are 6 or 7 teams that could be in the top 4, and
Yeah.
to then say, okay, we have to be in the top 4, otherwise it's a waste of a season. I think is like it's tough to do right now because like I mean you look at like I don't know like you look at like Aston Villa, who are going to be right in that area, 4 through 10, but like it's just hard. Like even Newcastle, like who does Newcastle take out of the top 4 to be a successful season?
Yeah. I don't know.
And from Man United's perspective, that can't be the measure of success this year because you look at City, Tottenham, Liverpool, Arsenal, Newcastle. I mean that's
I can't. I mean,
yeah
we might can't give up because you got to have a goal. I mean, that's probably what we're
right
reaching for, but you
right
can't look at it as a
a
bust or a
given
make or
like
break.
or yeah or non-negotiable
Yeah, it's a working towards that goal, and I think I love stories like Bournemouth with Eddie Howe.
hmm
There's plenty of other stories. That one just came to the top of my head, but like managers who have risen with the club for multiple levels.
yeah
Because they have time in those lower league teams, I think, unless they're on the brink of promotion or relegation, can give time to managers.
yep
It's the top 6 teams, the way they hire sometimes, where it's this the make or break kind of, you have to get it or you're out.
hmm
United, it just like you get sucked into a cycle of you're never gonna make it if you keep
yep
breaking it. You know what I mean? You
yep
can't build up that fast. I think you need to have a guy. I think it would be good for United to have a guy who can, I mean, get us up to top 4 and say, okay, get like a 3-season run. I mean, we get up there, one season down the next season, one season down the next season.
hmm
Because we get rid of guys. It's like you need to have some sort of, you need to have like a 3-year build your team. I mean, it just,
hmm
that's why Chelsea got stuck with 100 players because they just kept getting managers, buying a bunch of players, getting rid of them.
yeah
Like, it just doesn't work.
I think it's also tough to be that consistent even with how the league is right now, like to be like we finished top 4 year, whatever it was for Arsenal. What it was a crazy number. What 15, 20 years in a row they were in the top 4, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Before they fell all the way out. With Wenger, it was like his first time not getting the top 4 in however many years or whatever. But like that's an insane thing now to think.
Mm-hmm.
Besides unless you're City or like maybe Liverpool, but Liverpool were just out of it. But like unless you're City right now, to think about, yeah, we can realistically make the top 4 for the next 5 years in a row. Like just looking at the teams that are in the top half of the table, you're like, okay, if Brighton sign a couple more no-name players that are good, like they could make a real run for the top 4.
Yeah.
Like Aston Villa, a couple more players in there, and like Newcastle have shown they can beat PSG.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
these big teams, and like Man U obviously will turn around in the next couple of years. Chelsea will be back eventually, just with the investment that they're able to make. Like it's like these kind of things that are just like there's gonna have to be a different measure of success within the Premier League for managers, because I think the current ones, I don't know if they're just outdated or they're from an age where there was less competition at the top.
I mean, I don't understand why owners even buy top clubs because they are just a money sucking, like,
Yeah.
they're just soulless, just money spending machines.
Yep.
Like it just doesn't even make sense. You lose money only for one team to actually feel like they were successful. It's a lot. It doesn't make sense. I don't know.
So yeah, we'll move on for now.
Yeah.
But so we made it through one game. Brentford beat West Ham 3-2. Yeah, West Ham kind of fallen off, taking a little bit of a dip recently, but Brentford haven't been bad. So
Kudos had a good goal.
Yeah, Kudus did have a really good goal.
Kudos, whatever.
Yeah, is that 3 games in a row he scored? Because he scored for them against Arsenal midweek.
Think so.
City crushed Bournemouth
Yeah.
6-1 with Doku having 4 goal involvements, something like that.
Wow.
4 assists, something like that. Yeah, he was crazy. Sheffield United beat Wolves 2-1. Burnley get defeated by Crystal Palace, and we've said this a couple weeks in a row now, but it just seems like there's no way forward for Burnley.
No, and I
And they're
hope. Sorry, I really hope they do keep company because
I was just gonna
think
say, it seems like they're the kind of team that's gonna stick with them.
they should because that squad is like the youngest I think in the Premier League right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they play decent. Like you can see, at least you can see what's going on. You can see what they want to do. So I would be, and if they go down, I don't think they'll lose a lot of players.
Yeah.
So I think they should do all right.
Yep. Everton and Brighton drew, and Everton seem like they're, making a little bit of a push, and
that's
it might
good.
be okay.
That's good for Everton. That's a good draw.
Definitely a good result. Newcastle beat Arsenal 1-0 on a controversial goal, I would say. And I definitely want to talk about this because I'm mad at the decision for the goal. I'm really mad at one. I'm mad that it stood for one reason, but I'm mad at the technology for the other 2 reasons, I guess, because there were 3 checks, right?
Mm-hmm.
The first one being it was the ball out of bounds. Why there's not a camera that looks at that line straight up and down to give a conclusive yes or no? Amazing to me.
Stupid, yeah. How much money is in the Premier League and they can't figure that out?
Because if it's in, whatever, but like to say that it's not conclusive pisses me off. Yeah. Because then you're like, oh, so you can't tell, so you're just gonna go with the on-field ruling. Like that's just crazy to me.
So
also, have you heard? Sorry, go ahead.
Why? Maybe this is fucking just the stupidest shit that's about to come out of my mouth. Maybe it's not. Why is there no like laser square shooting down at stadiums that have an overhang around the whole fucking?
Well, so why don't they just replicate goal line technology, but on the line?
Yeah, so I don't know I don't actually know how goal line technology works. I just know I see a nice 3D graphic and I go, oh, that's a goal. That's not a goal.
So from my understanding, basically there's a sensor, like I don't know if it's in the goalpost or whatever. It's got to be on the back end of the goalpost, I would assume. That basically once the line is broken and there's like, you know how like once the ball goes through it, so it breaks the laser.
Yeah.
And then once the laser reconnects, I think that's when it says goal. You know what I mean? Because it broke the laser line or whatever. It broke the barrier, and then it's all the way through.
Which is why I don't understand why they couldn't do that throughout the field, though.
Right, and I agree. I don't know why that's not a thing. Because I think if you had it all the way around, if the ball's in the net, but it buzzes your wrist that the ball's out of bounds, you could just be like, yeah, it's a goal.
Yeah.
Like, you could rework goal line technology to make it work just everywhere, but if it's in the net, that's a goal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's my first complaint with this.
So, what do you think that ball was in or out?
Honestly, it's like I'm obviously gonna always be like, oh, that ball was out of bounds, but with the angles they give you, I mean, it looks out.
No, the angles look. So you know that it was probably in.
It was probably in.
Okay.
I think it looks out from the angle.
It does look out. It looks out, and it probably
I also
is
don't think I need Gary Lineker telling me that it's in and showing me on the sideline during the Chelsea game that it's inbounds.
Dude,
just get him off the screen.
That made me so mad. I was like,
there's a London derby about to go on.
Yeah, do you guys think we're fucking morons too? Do you know what I mean? Like, do people really? Are there people that watch that and were like, oh, that's how it works? Yeah, like, was there? There had to be, but like, I was like, this is for low IQ.
And I know that he's always been, he likes to wind up people and stuff, but like, I don't know, it just pissed me off to see that come up during a game that's not even our game, and for him to think that he has to explain it further on. Like,
Yeah.
I've seen the replays a billion times already. I've listened to the journalists, I've listened to Tim Howard's take on it. I've listened to Robbie's take on it. Everyone's like,
Yeah.
everyone's opinion. And then I'm like, okay, I get to watch Chelsea Tottenham and see this interesting game. And then I turn on the screen and he's standing there with the ball. These are the yellow ultraviolet balls that we use for the winter time, and this is how you can see it. I'm like, dude, you gotta be kidding me.
Yeah, yeah.
That was the first instance. Second was the push on the back of Gabriel, which I think is a foul any day of the week.
I would agree.
I think that's the one thing where they should have gotten there and been like, that's a foul.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. Because he's got two hands to the back of Gabriel. Whether Gabriel's leaning forward or not, two hands extended to the back of anyone is a foul. If he does that anywhere else, it's a foul.
And this is going to be a throwback, but you remember the United Arsenal game where we scored off a counter from you guys scored from a counter because Odegaard had pushed Eriksson over?
Yeah.
And it wasn't really a push, but his arms were fully extended on him.
Mm.
That was sort of, this one's I think worse, but that was the argument, was your hands are fully extended against someone.
Yeah.
And look, you're pushing them.
Yeah.
Like if they can't go backwards, you're basically pushing them.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. It's 100% a foul.
And then the third instance was the offside, which they again said was inconclusive. They didn't have the right angle for it. And I don't know if you've heard the audio have you heard the audio yet?
No.
You'll have to listen to it after this, dude. It's a shit show of refereeing. Just like the Liverpool one was against Tottenham, where they were like, none of them were on the same page.
Yeah,
at the end, one of the referees literally goes, God, I hope they don't release this, or something like that.
Really?
Like, literally says it at the end, because one of the other guys that was like, because they got to the end, and they were like, still not determined to the decision, but the game had started again, and they were like, well, delay, and the guy's like, we can't do that, the game started. And one of the other guys goes, great process, guys, or something like that.
Really?
Like, sarcastically, like they did in the Tottenham one. And then the other guy goes, fuck's sake, I hope they don't release it. Or something like that. We'll listen to it after, but it's, but I'm just like, how can this keep happening? Like, I don't know. It's just so bad. It's so bad. And, like, I thought, did you see Arteta's press conference? Did you see anything about him?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. And I know I'm biased, but, like, I don't know. I agree with what he said. Like, when he's like, and I think, like, those are the things where I'm saying, okay, if Arsenal go back to win that game, we're probably not even talking about this as much as we are right now.
Yeah.
So when I'm talking about, like, covering up the cracks, I think even if Arsenal were to win the game, I think it'd be a bad thing that we're not talking about the refereeing decision because we won the game and it didn't end up mattering.
Yeah.
But for Arteta to react the way he did in the press conference, I think it was good to start the conversation and for so much media coverage to be around it, because, like, he was pissed. Like, when he's like, I don't know how the hell a goal can stand like that. Like, starting off the thing, and then he's like, what, I've been in this country 20 years and I'm embarrassed. I'm, like, ashamed to be in this country or something like that. And I'm like, I don't know. He's not really saying anything that's, like, too wrong. He's not being like, he didn't call out any referees by name. He's not like, oh, they're Newcastle fans.
No, but he doesn't. I think he probably shouldn't have. Well, actually, he can do whatever he wants. I think Arsenal should not have put out a statement being like, yeah, I mean, they didn't say this, but yeah, the refs are shit.
Mm-hmm.
Because what I think happened in that situation during the VAR call is I think these guys are so anxious when something happens and are trying to do it so quick that it's over before they know it, and then they go, like, nice, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, they're so stressed out on making the right decision that they just can't even function like normal humans.
I'm gonna have to react to you. Listen to the audio. There's a point where, like, so they were, like, looking at the ball out of play. I think it was the ball out of play. It was either the ball out of play or the offside. And they were like, "Can you show me the best angle?" And the guy in the VAR room was like, "This is the best angle." And the guy goes, "Are you serious?" He's like, "I can't see anything." And they're like, "This is the best angle we got. I don't know what to say." And they just kept going, "That's the best angle. That's the only one I got." And then the guy's like, "Well, I can't tell anything from that."
So is that a Premier League? Like, are these cameras Premier League issued, or is that a Newcastle
I think they all have to
stadium
have the
issue?
same system. Because
Well, then
I
what
think
is
it's
he
a regulated
expecting?
system.
So then he should know exactly what kind of angles they're going to get.
Yeah,
So that
but
doesn't make any sense.
I think the issue being is that we don't have the angle. Like whatever angle he was looking for, it's crazy that we don't have
But
that available.
if it was a regulated system, he wouldn't even be asking for that angle because he would know you either don't have that angle or you do have that angle. Do you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah,
So
I get what you're
something
saying.
doesn't make sense there to me.
We'll watch it after this so you can see what I'm talking about. All right, we'll move on for now.
Yeah. Wait, no.
I could talk about that for like.
I got
what
more.
else do you have?
I didn't want.
Yeah.
I didn't want to talk. Oh, I did want to talk about it, but I had other stuff.
Yeah.
That Bruno elbow on
Oh my
Jorginho.
god! I almost forgot about that. How is he not off?
That is the clearest red card I've ever seen in my
They
life.
didn't even look at it. They didn't even like. No one mentioned
Crazy.
it. Even the announcers didn't talk about it.
I know. How does that? Someone's got to spot that, man. I mean, it's right after the ball's played. It's not like it's
And
completely.
Jorginho went down. It's not like he shook it off and like walked away. He like, dude. I mean, and they were talking the podcast I listened to was talking about, and they're like if you do that to someone on the street, like that's an assault charge.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like, and one of the commentators this morning or the morning after the game said something along the lines of like, "Oh, he hit him with his forearm, and that's why it's not a foul." And
Doesn't matter at all.
I was like, "You're telling every center back in the league that they can just fucking whack people with their forearm?"
Yeah. If I go to
and
punch
walk
someone
away?
and I end up hitting them with my shoulder, that's not
Yeah.
like it's still
Well,
trying
that's
to punch
exactly
him.
the guy I listened to was like, he hit him with his forearm because he missed with the elbow.
Yeah. Yeah, that was bad. I think. Yeah, that was bad. I think someone else should have had a red card before that. Actually, if I'm not wrong, was there another tackle? I didn't see the Havertz one. I saw people talking about it. I didn't see it.
He never actually made contact. He left the ground. Like if he made any contact
I did see
with the
the
person's
Havertz one,
shin, it would have
actually.
been a red.
Yeah.
But he never made contact. But the Bruno one was bad, and then later in the game, Bruno like threw Fabio Vieira by the neck.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, what is going on?
Was it Bruno? I saw. I think Joe Lynn.
No, it was Bruno again.
It's up
Because
there.
Bruno had a yellow by that point, and people were like, why is he still on the field?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's crazy.
There's some fishy Newcastle stuff I feel like going on.
I did see a picture of one of the referees in a Newcastle kit after the game, like a picture of them all in a pub, and I was like, I'm not gonna bite. I held my tongue. And I think
that's honestly, I think that's bullshit. I think if you put us as Premier League referees, we would be unbiased.
Right.
No, I think if that's your job, even if you grew up supporting a team,
yeah,
people are I think human beings are capable of removing bias. I do think that's a possibility.
I agree with you. I think if you were to be biased, though, it's a lot easier to do it in a VAR room than it is on the field.
Yeah, absolutely. But
because if you were the guy in charge of the angles, and you had a better angle, and you were like, "Don't got it," sorry, this is what you got to work with.
So what I think when I say it's fishy, though, is I don't even think it's like a fan situation because, Man United has fans, Liverpool has fans that are refs.
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit of Saudi cash.
I was hearing about that too.
Oil money.
There was something they were, because Premier League referees got approved to referee in the Saudi Cups or something like that, or they were asked to referee in the Saudi Cups. So a lot of these referees have been going back and forth to Saudi, recently, and then Newcastle have had a couple like major decisions go their way, and their owners are Saudi backed, obviously. I did hear about that, but it's tough.
No, I don't actually think. But it's you could imagine a world where
Yeah.
that happens. I mean, all right, let's move
Um,
past that.
Nottingham Forest beat Aston Villa 2-0. Tough result for Aston Villa. Nottingham Forest, they'll take it every day of
Good,
the week.
good for them.
They're up into 13th now. Um, Everton are up into 16th with a 5-point gap to 17th, so looking good. Luton Town tie Liverpool, and it looked like they might have won it until the Luis Diaz goal.
Good for
Um,
Luis Diaz.
Good for Luis Diaz. We're hoping his dad gets found and safe and everything like that.
Mm-hmm. All of his years are in.
Darwin Nunez missed about like 15 open shots.
Classic. Good for
Dude,
him.
he's either so good or he's so bad. He's an
I'm
awesome
starting-
player to watch. I look forward to watching him every week.
I'm starting
really
to
do.
get with you on that because there's also something about the way he just acts that it's like he has no idea. He doesn't even know what's gonna happen. You know what I mean?
He is insane. He has no idea where he is, and then I think he blacks out when he gets the ball. Honestly, I think he. And then when he like looks up, it's either he scored and he's like so happy, or he misses and he's always like he looks like he's confused. And he just like kind of looks around. He's like,
That's what it is. He looks confused. Like the leg that he used to just kick the ball wasn't his. Do you know what I mean? Like he doesn't even know how that happened.
But he's my favorite player to watch in the Premier League. That's not an Arsenal.
No, I'm sorry to get behind that. I can.
Dude, he's a joy. He's an absolute joy. Because the thing is, it's fun to watch him when he's bad because he misses open opportunities because he's so fast. He gets in good spaces. But he's awesome to watch when he's good too because he scores bangers.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then Tottenham Chelsea, which was another refereeing. I don't know if it was a disaster, but it was definitely we had another like 10-minute VAR check on the red card for Romero.
Well, if Romero should have had a red card before that, I think, and Udagi should have been I think a red. Like,
and I was talking to people today, and they were like, when you go over the ball, which I don't think is necessarily so much the case in the Romero one, but like we've seen so many tackles where the person they tackle the ball essentially, and then their foot rolls over the ball, and then it gets the foot. And I think if it was just a stomp, you could argue for not a red, but he drags it up the shin of the player. Like I don't know, it looks bad.
It's never good when your legs are going like that. It's very different if you're going down.
Yeah.
But I mean.
And he looked out of control because he just got out of another tackle and kind of just dove into the next one. That being said, what are your thoughts on the? So Tottenham go down to.
Yeah.
Was it? They went down to 10, and then was there a goal scored?
Yes, there was the penalty. Was right at.
Yeah, so the penalty was scored, right, and then they go down to 9 men, and then they continue to play a high line. What were your thoughts on that?
I love it, dude. I love it.
But from the aspect of what? Like, you can't think it was a smart move.
I mean, maybe it's not a smart. I don't know. It's just like the odds are already all the way back on you.
Yeah.
You might as well fucking just do it. Just go for it. I mean,
now I think that's what Ange was thinking. I think what you just said out loud is what was going through Ange's head on the sideline.
Yeah.
He was like, no one's gonna blame me if we lose this game.
Yeah,
push him forward. You know what I mean?
Do it. Let's see what happens. Maybe Son does something. I mean, yeah, you gotta expect, and that's the type of game that you could fight your heart out, all 9 guys back, and lose in the 95th minute and go. We could have just fucking tried something there instead of we just sat back. I don't know. I'm all for. And I like the mentality of being like, I don't care what happens, who we have on the field, we're doing the same thing. You know what I mean? I think that's a nice way to coach.
My issue with it was that Chelsea are not good enough to take advantage of it immediately. So Sterling made the run in behind 6 times before someone was good enough to actually get him the ball.
Yeah.
When you repeatedly see him go through and toast your back line, you got to be like, dude, I think they might score off this eventually. Because the goals they scored after that were like 2-on-1 against the goalie.
Yeah.
What happened? And like Jackson could have had 8 goals if he was clinical in front of net. He could have just kept scoring. It was
Yeah.
amazing that he only had 3. He could have had at least 4. I don't know, and I think Mudryk was pretty. Did you see the one where he didn't pass it to Mudryk and he went
Yeah.
around the goalkeeper?
Yeah.
Mudryk just like stopped dead. I was like, I can't believe they're gonna fight. They're winning 4-1 against Tottenham right now. Because like I was after the goal was scored, I was like waiting in the celebration. I was like looking at okay, Gallagher's there. Like all these players are arriving, shaking hands, and I was like, oh, Mudryk didn't come. He's probably still standing there. But yeah, I don't know. Once you see Sterling just annihilate the back line like you kept doing, I would have been like, I don't know, maybe we should drop back a little bit.
Oh, Sterling's first good game I've seen him play in Chelsea.
Nah, he had a couple good ones. But also, with that high line, Van de Ven goes off injured.
That's the
because he's
biggest
sprinting back.
Yeah.
Madison goes off injured.
Can't blame a high line for that, though.
No, I'm just saying Madison went off injured, just in general, is bad.
Oh, they're
But Van de Ven, I can blame the high line on that. But
I don't know.
He was on a full sprint and it looked like a pull or a tear of a hamstring.
Yeah, they're screwed. Like that.
Yeah, it's not looking good. So you got Romero gone for 3 games. You got Van de Ven at least gone for 3 games. Udogi's out for 1. Madison is questionable. Richarlison's injured. Did you see that come out today? He's getting surgery.
Yeah, I did see that. Who cares?
Okay, so who plays for them anymore? It's gonna be hoof it up to Son. Hope he dribbles past 7 people and scores.
Yeah,
Son and Kulusevski.
When's the last time a youth player came through at Spurs? I mean, generally, I can't think of any recently that have come through. What about that Spence kid? Jed Spence?
Jed Spence?
Yeah.
Isn't he not there anymore?
He might not.
I don't think he's there.
Yeah, I don't.
Did Winks come through them?
Winks came
Harry
through
Winks?
them. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, I feel like it's about time.
Like they're due. If you're not hot, you're due.
Yeah, promote some youngsters. See what happens. I mean,
it's a shame they could have bought Balogun in the summer for $80 million. I would have sold him for 115.
I would never have sold him.
But yeah, that's the Premier League.
Yeah, we are running through the time. We gotta.
Yeah, I mean, it's just there's just so much shit to talk about. I guess like key takeaways are VAR needs to improve. Just consistency. Like I don't even care if I disagreed with the calls, but they were the same calls every week. That's I guess the issue.
Yeah.
Like, put something on the lines so that we know when the ball's out or not. What else do we want to take away? I wanted to ask you, Tottenham, do you think this could be the start of it all going wrong? We've talked about how it's probably not sustainable, like the pace that they were on.
Yeah.
Do you think this could be part of the turning point?
I think it's obviously going to be, but when you look at that turning point, you can't be like, they're a bad team or Ange is fucking them up. It's just like
no. I think they just don't have a strong enough second string because now Eric Dyer is going to be in their center back pairing.
They were bound to fall off second half of the season because they don't have the depth.
Mm-hmm.
They have the new players they brought in, and the old guard just can't compete.
Yeah.
So they are always bound to fall off. Yeah. So they'll turn around.
All right. Well, you heard it. You heard it there. Make sure you guys follow us on Twitter or X at the Away Fans Podcast. We're pretty active on there, I would say, and we make sure you check out us as well as all the other podcasts on Press Play. And just stay up to date. Make sure you rate us 5 stars on Spotify, Google, Apple Podcasts, wherever you're getting your podcasts, because it definitely helps us out. And thanks for listening.